Hi, friends. My name is host Eric, and I'm live streaming the clean. That's right, I'm cleaning today, and I'm gonna live stream it. You know why? Because I'm cool like that. Can you do 12? Okay. There, I sent that message. Okay, so I'm cleaning. So put some music on. So to be copyright friendly, I'll put my own music on, I guess. I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. I already have a warning after all. Why? Because I bullied C.S. Joseph? Come on. Cereal? That's why I have a warning? It never goes away? It's like herpes? Come on. That's so unfair. Mic check? Am I not getting any sound? I'm not getting any sound, huh? Now I see that I am a super big star. Go ahead, make. What kind of mic am I getting? This? Uncertainty, just wait. Yeah, I am. Okay, good. Alright, so I'm clean. Shoulders. Why can't others seem to choose? Always going outside in search of the news. Figured I was listed full of caps. I'm deep as us here and know what's up. I'm some kind of internet. Now, these are all clean clothes. For sure. I gotta put these away. Tentacles and swords remind me of our chords. You gotta string them together to make a decision. Make a decision.
Once upon a time, a long time ago, I was a little kid walking out in the snow, except there wasn't no snow here in Southern California, too warm for snow, but I don't want to bore you with the weather. Whether or not you find it clever or boring or love it a lot, think it a pleasure or poor or like in a plot, it's cold, it's a chore. No,
Hi, Rachel.
It's super hot.
I love you.
Let's not get too up and cotton and laying out just exactly what is not, because laying's not falling out of the cotton. Back to the story, back to the top. Once upon a time, a long time ago, I was walking all around when time was slow, except I wasn't really walking because I rode my bike. And if I wasn't doing that, then in the car ride, or I stay inside, allow myself to try magic scissors, because my God was a wizard. Fighters were lame. Wizardly spells put fighters to shame. Let's stop mistakes, make the same again, Jane. I swerved out of my lane again, Jane. Like the time I fell off the cot. Back to the top. Once upon a time, a long time ago, when middle school loomed there before my toe, and nobody knew then what now they know. Isolated in the time below, blocked all the flow of intuition. Regardless, I just thought that I go ahead and return to the plot. The foregoing I've decided is not as relevant as it seems.
But even so, I more to do with teams. Say the time frame might contextualize things a lot, like the context box. But once upon a time, a long time ago, I was a little kid walking out in the snow, except there wasn't no snow here in Southern California, too warm for snow. But I don't want to bore you with the weather, whether or not you find it clever or boring or love it a lot, then get a pleasure or poor or like in a plot. It's cold, it's a chore. No, it's more. It's super hot. Regardless, let's not get too up and caught and laying out just exactly what is not, because laying's not falling out of the cotton. Back to the story, back to the top. I'm rolling up my pants. Rolling them.
Got a story about 10 years old. It's a song for an open road, and such a thing must always do its job. She married up Jeff, turned 19, 4 years in, 3 kids we're now in questioning the path.
Agency out. Face discretion.
Knocking in our courses.
Way too young. The urgency conferred is really just depression.
Making sure those underneath them always run. Doug at 20 found bourbon fun, likewise Doug at 21, and so forth well up into middle age. What he once thought would set him free became his whole identity. Now Doug's about another drunken rage. Agency out,
Face discretion.
knocking in our courses.
Way too young.
The urgency conferred is really just depression. Making sure those underneath them always run. Everybody's panic about the kids. Load up with extra dances.
Dancing makes the camera move.
And mathematics to promote success, or to impose more unjust duress. Agency out,
Face discretion.
knocking in our courses.
Way too young. The urgency conferred is really just depression.
Making sure those underneath them always
Run.
without consent. It's really just depression, but parasites surviving while they feed their fear of dying. Yes, they feed upon the futures, feed upon the futures of the young.
It's called a sweatshirt. It's got a hood. Whoa. Sorry, everybody. Sorry about that. Anybody get hurt? Everybody okay? Ooh, dead, huh? That is bad. Jonas got his cabinet stuffed full of frogs. He's forgotten all about his lunchtime date. And Helen's leaving nasty comments on his blog, 'cause Jonah's running really very late. They say neurotics always link up to a tendency towards the things they do. Means must the end, we're finishing life and rescue now a must. Lay the hat and with your trucks on the ground, make your pace, the red across round. Rust and bleach the light say. Calling, but it can't be heard on this side of the hill. Happens sporadic focuses on the dance floor. It's telling now that it is time to rest on the ground to make a big renegade. I want you to make a byway. How about the rest? Jonas got his cabinet stuffed full of frogs. He's forgotten all about his lunchtime date. And Helen's leaving nasty comments on his blog, 'cause Jonah's running really very late. You're living on a time frame I will never know. alienation and humanity's soul. Imagine you a future after the collapse, returning to the urgency of isolated past. Picturing community, free of metaphysics, hunting buffalo, picking red delicious, knowledge of the seasons, wisdoms of old, fires blazing in the night to keep away the cold. Hostility is kept at bay. Hostility is kept at bay by what you think is in the way. By what you think is in the way of life as children of the land. With an agave weatherman. Imagining a history never could have been. You lecture at the college, advancement is a sin. Lamenting disconnection and every corporate act, asserting all your feelings, ignoring all the facts. Hostility is kept at bay. Hostility is kept at bay by what you think is in the way. By what you think is in the way of life as children of the land. With an agave weatherman. You find modernity just so banal. Wish you had been born any time but now, and your experience won't run about. Visualize nobility sipping on some port, or tribes of peaceful savages in beautiful comport. But few of history's people ever thusly did comport, cause life was nasty, solitary, brutish, poor, and short. Hostility is kept at bay. Hostility is kept at bay by what you think is in the way. By what you think is in the way of life as children of the land. With an agave weatherman. With an agave weatherman. Out of rock, rockin' hard, bring around those heavy chords. Show me how to be so hard. Took the 1984 God rock. You rock so hard, I don't know what I've got. Listening to that Johnny country shot. When I should know people go. Gotta rock. After all your talk to the very rockin' it. Gotta rock, I roll. Roll your pancakes on my junk. Oh, rock your uncle up too much wine. Oh, rock those pancakes for your lunch. And I'll roll up in front of you in line. I'm a gotta rock, like a rock, like a rock, like separate the Lord of rock like I know. So if you voodoo to rock, I know that you do not rock. So find this rocket every night. After all your talk to the very rockin' gotta rock, I roll all night. I rock all day, repeat yourself like every day. Have your brush, I'll interrupt, I like it wrong, look at mine. I rock your mimosas, my day's mine. I rock your pancakes on my job, on my rock, on your lunch. Gotta rock, a rockin' shock. A rockin' flock of rockin' blocks, I pray the Lord to rock a lot. Too much noise in the data stream, loud up to disrupt everybody's dreams. Frustrations mean mistakes are made until it seems that everybody's throwing shade. I won't be just another casualty of other people's well-intentioned rules. I used to think that from tomorrow I Look at your jeans, Rachel.
There'll be time for yesterday.
They're short. It's too short for
The
this.
sort of thing that one can borrow.
No, those are those jeans that are too short for you that aren't your jeans.
Your uncertainty's implicit, just like an unexpected visit.
Well, no, I'm making these shorts. I gotta cut these off. They're too short for me.
I won't be just another casualty of other people's well-intentioned rules. I used to think that some tomorrow there'd be time for yesterday. What's the matter with Chad?
Is he terribly bad?
Is he very like
Who's
Dan?
a terrible man?
Is he sort of like Jill?
Who can't pay your bill?
Or rather like Jack?
Too stuck on the facts?
And what about Sue? Will she know what to do?
If they bring attitude, does she show ingenuity?
He talks about you
Whenever we go walking,
What's the matter with Bryn?
she's been living in sin.
She's been hanging with Jim.
You're looking terribly thin.
What's the deal with Frank?
Still fish from my tank.
He's flirting with you.
And they're talking a little.
What's wrong with the ladies?
What's the matter with men?
From the feelings of Katie to the coldness of spring. He talks about you
Whenever we go walking, paths that lead to lesser days.
Paths that lead to lesser days.
Still spill from the overwater.
There's daylight over water
And
paths.
whoever's left, that's still okay. Just how the sails in the mast.
Are you angry at Ken?
Or Neville again.
Don't bother with Ken.
He's practically dead.
Just focus on Bert.
He's medium hurt.
What's a quandary for Liz?
She failed a quiz.
And what about Drew?
Will she know
This is
what
definitely
to
Rachel's
do?
shirt. I need to get a container for Rachel's stuff.
Will she show ingenuity? She talks about you whenever we go walking. Paths that lead to lesser days.
Paths that lead to lesser days.
Still feel
We'll fill up the water paths.
whoever's left, that's still okay. Just how the sails in the mast. Each of us have much in
Rachel, is this mine or yours?
facing. Throw up the hands, stiffen the chin. 'Cause as your feelings heavy,
How about these?
again.
Ooh.
I've gone will never be again. People everywhere gather up in the means, outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they send different overseas?
Yes, sexy as fuck.
She is just winning out of misery, follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulted, cursed, and desperate, with stuck kids and dirty like to eat. Oh, perdition, restoration, going destruction of the whole damn world. Share the better world living. Hoping Julie will do. Hoping Julie will do. Generation for minutes. You just can't do things like this. Julie always thought that she should have got to when she had the chance to buy. Julie soon forgot about soon and on, although she ever called. People everywhere gather up enemies, outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they send different priorities? These falling backstabbing entities, ensuing our in misery, follow necessarily from their savage ways.
Insulting, colors in a different. We're stuck inside, ready like to me. Oh, but the generator isn't causing destruction of the whole damn world. Once there was a time, I had to look inside a place that I could not see what would be. Just the claims you must have ready for one to go back to lunch. When messaging came on through back in 1992. Everybody's coming to my summer party and bring beach towels. Everybody's coming to my summer party. Everybody's coming to my summer party. Gonna get some. Everybody's coming to my summer party. It's gonna be summertime. It's salty, it's hot, the days are long. It's not open winter, you go on. Take her hand, unfurl, bend her to the left and make her your girl. Dance her to the right, into the light bulb until she says I've had enough. Enough. The sun is up, I'm out of bed, I lay in bed, and then I went to the cruiser on the street. I press the pedal to the metal with 3 toe feet, and here we go. It's time to roll, I police the road patrol. Officer Brad. Drive on the scene, it's like check time. I got on this hot ass in club 6-9. This is harassment, Officer Red, but you can start to come on top of my head. The wheel and complain, how can slammer, really can't say outcome, heading to the slammer. I'm sure you'll like tail just fine. The book is all tied up where the sun don't shine. Make room first, don't extract the head. Then I'll put you in the car, says Officer Red. Officer Red. Can't be proud with that law of compliance. You're under arrest and out of compliance. You tonight will take home and send the rain shaking to the beat. Officer Red. Officer Red. I think that. Enough with all your alarmist nonsense. There's no solution. Make the contact. Pew pew seems too good it screams, ignoring all the words that say seems to mean. the seaweed. Your honest nonsense. Your honest nonsense. Your honest nonsense. There's no solution. Make the contact. Watch me track down all your contents. Oh, it seems too good as rings. Ignoring all the words I say seems to mean you're hearing music dance. You're just in. Oh, he came here with her. And what's the big problem that you can't endure? You seem so sure it's not appropriate blaming. You blame things on Scott, despite getting caught. He's got you reframing for him, straining for him. Going to the gym, make yourself good enough again. Yeah, you guys both have lots invested. That's not a reason to stay around. Through the years, you've both been tested. Time to move up, find higher ground. Oh, he came here with her. And what's the big problem that you can't endure? You seem so sure it's not appropriate blaming. You blame things on Scott, despite getting caught. He's got you reframing for him, straining for him. Going to the gym, make yourself good enough again. Be done with him. Put up notes, change codes. Testing means hide the most. Represent that both and neither coast at most, or you won't be the one who's chose. Either way, you won't be bored in Steven's vote. This is my cum rag. Either way, you won't be bored in Steven's vote. It's clean. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. My secret beach is always
ever quit
ejaculating. Or to sit alone on hill with sounds of water pounding on the shore below. Of water pounding on the shore. And fa la la means cha cha cha. Machine mechanics means semantics convene. In planned panics and Smithsonians. With Chris's baloney knishes and Korea-onians. Unfolded eyelid twitches indicating britches still unreached. This was Delilah's shirt. Shirt. When she went to her bed. to sit alone on hill with sounds of water pounding on the shore below. Of water pounding on the shore. What's up, pimp? Not much, pimp. No good comes from skating on with them whom you've mistaken for the one. Girl shirt.
Habituated, defects, decency, self-inflicted, eventually once the search is done.
This is also Rachel's.
Driving in the car last night, we had a nasty fight. Each insisted we were right and the other one.
Hi, Dad.
So when you pulled that stunt, I screamed something awfully.
Are you guys pleased some or what?
They were
Oh, awesome, yeah.
my share of shame.
Good idea. It's each of our own failings.
It's not us doing the nailing to the wall. We fear so the others sailing off to reset their life and all. You could trust me, I could trust you, so rather trust ourselves much true though. The love lies deep between you and me. At least about that we can both agree. Driving in the car last night, we had a nasty fight. Each insisting we were right and the other one to blame. So when you pulled that stunt, I screamed something awfully blunt. My words were small, cause they were dumb and they burned my share of shame.
My share of shame. To know the right time when to make a move or stand aside. Is the time of more or for your life? Time is the distance, not the distance. It's too slow counting things in seconds and inches. Careless failure can make mending fences hard. Complicated things is trying to work in the neighbor's yard. Time is the difference, not the distance. It's too slow counting things in seconds and inches. Time is the distance and the history. No indifference to breaching the fences. Careless failure can make mending fences hard. Complicated things is trying to work in the neighbor's yard. Timing's the thing, the thing, the thing, the thing. Say hi, chicken pot pie. What you do? Potato stew. What you see? Split pea. Can you be like me? You got to have a repartee with a chicken pot pie, chicken pot pie, chicken pot pie, a chicken pot pie, chicken pot pie, a chicken pot pie, chicken pot pie, chicken pot pie, a chicken pot pie, chicken pot pie. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's important to eat chicken pot pie. If you want to go downtown and have a hot dog inside a clown's outfit, like a clown who eats hot dogs while at work, be a jerk. Don't forget that's dirt that you're eating and saying you should have a what now? Say bye-bye, chicken pot pie, if you don't want to become alive. Chicken pot burn, you were lying that time. You're not a chicken pot pie, you're a frying kind of guy. Down. Jiggy, 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 pop, pop. A chicken pop pie, chicken pop pie, chicken pop pie, a chicken pop pie, chicken pop pie, a chicken pop pie, chicken pop pie, chicken pop pie.
Chicken papa. At 16, Francis Goss knew what lived down underneath, who battled on and bore the cross. She gathered up her lover Keith as winter lay its icy claws. They had to overwin for such. The ration adequate for two had dwindled down to just a few. They broke the snow on April 3rd. Beneath the warnings of the birds. Though Keith was weakened by the trip, Francis wasn't having any bit of it. Francis broke the path, moving now away from huddled cover they had kept. He navigated through the day till hints of habitation crept upon their senses, and though they knew they'd manage barely to survive, darkness closed fast on the two. They'd be outdoors one final night. They broke the snow on April 3rd. Beneath the warnings of the birds. Though Keith was weakened by the trip, Francis wasn't having any bit of it. Wake up, your daughter's gone. You and mom had her in the perfect con. For that fateful dawn, when you woke up to find that your daughter's gone. Wake up, your daughter's gone. You and mom had her in the perfect con. You had your pond before that fateful dawn, when you woke up to find your daughter's gone. You pruned her being with a flaw, helped her to see how she was always wrong. Worked so hard on fixing her, stop making her truth tough. You call that love? Well, that's what I call rough. You'll never deem her ever quite good enough. I know you're not surprised by this stuff, because you'll never deem her ever quite good enough. Chomp, haters, fake ass alligators act like a dinosaur. Scare us, roar, roar, roar. Hire a detective, find out more. Grade your daughter's day so before you can leverage her forevermore. Threats kept stored so well capped. Oh snap, thought you had reduced that crap. Had your kids' free will, now well tapped. Forced into sluices, squeezed out the oily juices. Like the mammal you had beaten, dad. Turned up still well uneaten kid. And now wore a suit of bitter skin. Knew the way in winter when the snow fell down like demon into ice. Yet she's still alive and having learned that the ruthless thrive. Now all above the mammal must win, but vengeance out upon the wind. Offering so grand an aspiration, conscientious castrations, and outcome focused play. We're asked to force the womb, force the issue, force us to doom. Bouncing along on a quest to belong, count the options, count the strong ones, the toys of the wrong ones. And Tori's father hates the bomb ones. He really needs to hit the bong some. Dumber than the young, he'd see undone, but undone, young and fun, his fun. Now Tori's dad's oh so fun. He's way too dumb to run afoul of my big guns. Rick called that girl that you threatened to sue. She's actually a lot like you. In fact, she coalesced from the jizz that you threw. Tori's mama cooked your warm white goo and a lady you. 2 decades hence now. Tori's just a girl that you once knew. Cause daughters are people whom fathers will sue. So Tori's just a girl that you once knew. I got my hoes, I got my bins, I got my gaps, and then again, I got my drugs and my gang and my strippers, all the same. I've got everything that I need. I'm rolling down the highway, moving at top speed, looking out for a reason to see a G. Got my hoes, I got my gap, a super awesome conference. I got my clubs, I got my strippers, I got all kinds of fun stuff. Rolling in the Benz, down the highway super fast, going to another super awesome conference for Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Get your hose, got your gats, got your guns, got your bins. Don't forget your grapefruit juice, my friends. I'd just been sad, I gave up long ago. Was sometimes mad, but bad was all I'd ever known. Since sad was all I'd been, I'd only mope and pout until I met a man named Ken who showed me how to whisper shout. I'm rich, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. I'm rich, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. I'd just been sad, I gave up long ago. Was sometimes mad, but bad was all I'd ever known. Since sad was all I'd been, I'd only mope and pout until I met a man named Ken who showed me how to whisper shout. I'm rich, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. I'm rich, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. I'm rich, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. I'm rich. I've just been sad, I gave up long ago. I'm the greatest. Was sometimes mad, but bad was all I'd ever known. I'm the greatest. Since sad was all I'd been, I'd only mope and pout. I'm the best. Till I met a man named Ken who showed me how to whisper shout. I'm rich, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. I'm rich, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the best.
What time is it? It's caterpillar time. Caterpillar time. It's caterpillar time. Caterpillar time. It's caterpillar time. Caterpillar time. Caterpillar time. It's caterpillar time. She is a dreamer. She is a schemer. I know that I wanna be a man anyway. You find a stone. Stick around, baby. I can't stand to be alone. What Morrissey said, I'm human, need to be loved. That's why I got these pair of gloves. I'm gonna put them on top of my hands, and then that way they won't be cold when it's grand piano time. Grand piano time. Haka, chika, cha, cha, cha. Well, you're too damn funky for a Eric Star. She got a funky nose and a funky mouth. You even live in a funky house, and I won't have any of that stuff. So trust me, you better believe that I'm gonna stand up now and leave. If you want to sit here, that's fine, but don't expect anybody. Don't expect anybody. Don't think no one ever gonna take it home to mama. Mama got rules for a family affair. Don't think nobody take you back to papa. Papa's always looking to show that he cares. Don't think no one ever gonna take you home to mama. Way too funky for a family affair. Ain't nobody gonna bring you home to papa. Ain't a man who likes to share. Party persons run up to the west right now. Motivate those legs. Party peerage to the west right now. Everybody knows the game she plays. Your place, be the best. Pound your chest, shake the rust. Trust the roof to stay concrete enough. Moves are true, intuitive, pure, of heart quick of feet. The beerage of the party run off to the east, run off to the east, run off to the east again. Party beerage to the west right now. Everybody knows the game she plays. And pause this for a second. Dance. Okay, you guys, listen. This is important. All 6 of you. Freshly squeezed and orange juice from my parents' orange tree. Shockingly good. Anyway, obviously this isn't very interesting to people. There's only 5 of you here, but Yeah, I am getting shit done, so I'm gonna just continue on.
The name of this song, and instead of learning words, you should dance along. If you don't know the dance, don't fret about it, friend, cause dance teaching songs have followed tradition, and the dancing party dance, which goes with the song. It's not a hard dance to do and not too long. First you're walking forward, pointing and stuff. Look around now, wave, pull out your guns. Now walking backwards, a total 4 steps. Once there, drop your guns, cause it's time to rest and do the axle rose by hitting your hips. Clap, step it back, clap, clap. Now to the foot, the dance is all left. Bend it out of you, then bend it back correct. Next to the foot, the dance is on the right. You bend it out of you, then you bend it back inside. Look over your shoulder, be tucking the kite. Let it go in the cold, dark and fight. Finally clap, your hands in your ass. Take you one, take you two, then slap your chest. Then slap your chest, then slap your chest. Dancing party, dance down, back and through. If you need another chance, put this video on loop. First you're walking forward, pointing and stuff. Look around now, wave, pull out your guns. Now walking backwards, a total 4 steps. Once you're there, drop your guns, cause it's time to rest and do the axle rose by dipping your hips. Clap, step it back, clap, clap. Now to the foot, the dance is on the left. First, bend it out of you, then you bend it back correct. Next to the foot, the dance is on the right. First, you bend it out of you, then you bend it back inside. Look over your shoulder, be tugging the kite. Let it go in the cold, dark and night. Finally clap, your hand to your ass. Check it one, check it two, then slap your chest, then slap your chest, then slap. Dancing party dance is the name of this song. And instead of learning words, you should dance along. Just because I do, the DVD are afraid of me. One more time, Kim. Amelia, come from that place. Because your details of your face. Amelia, with your eyes up above, looking ahead and soaring like a dove. What will they say when they look at you then? Moving sideways in their faces rolling. And staring sidelong with that thirsty grin. Amelia, can't you see that you and I will never be? Amelia, yet you're still free. Too much opportunity to keep out in the rain, Amelia. Amelia, we're watching you. Sail for shore. No matter what we do. Amelia, with your eyes up above, floating ahead and soaring like a dove. What will they say when they look at you then? Moving sideways in the space you're in. And staring sidelong with that thirsty grin. Amelia, can't you see that you and I will never be? Amelia, yet you're still free. Too much opportunity to leave out in the rain, Amelia. You come outside, your arms are folded. I'm getting scolded for playing again. I want to achieve as much as I can in terms of a man you want me to be.
do what I gotta do. I'll include you in everything that I can. 'Cause I'm your man, and you're my girl. I'm my woman in the world. You are the one I will be with till I die. Hey, I want your belief. You want my attention. I've got invention going again. I want to be as much as I can. In terms of the man you want me to be. So Kimberly, don't be mad at me. Though I made this song, that I'm your man, and you're my girl. I mean my woman in the world. You are the one I will be with till I die. Hey, 'cause I'm your man, and you're my girl. I mean my woman in the world. You are the one I will be with till I die. Hey. Thanks, Vincent Vaughn. This song with some FI in it. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot. Marjorie, take the thoughts. He's got a good idea for an ancient business. Thinking now about what they call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald thought the chances of return to the work that from he get back to it eventually. But his visions piled up and his plan interrupted. All the work that started out globally. Distracted though by business, Gerald might change travelers to list. So how all of the people could shout his name. And if Gerald knows that he understands it from a failure now, he won't provide explanation regarding the why or the how. He'll see you and know you from inside your heart. Delighting, exciting, Gerald plays his part. But Gerald didn't do too much to do, and he had dropped under tonight. Even all the electric lights and there's no reason to reverse. Jack was surely just the first. She makes the connection with mortality, takes the direction and morality, fakes the confession circumstantially, she starts a fight. Electra, goddess of the night. Bring on the future, bring on the now, bring it on. Show us where, tell us when, show us how. Electra, goddess of the night. Electric, with artificial light. Nightfall brings electric time to rain. Even can electric name. She makes the connection with mortality, takes the direction and morality, takes the confession circumstantially, she starts a fight. Electra, goddess. Electra, goddess of the night. They say I'm old, most regretfully. These younger folk I know will all like 23. Time was forward, children grow and leave the house. Lovers fail at being friends when love is something that they trade in. But years pass while one is thinking that, and decades slip unnoticed by you awfully fast. Russian time moves onward by, Schmitty's dead and tanks on high. Some things fade while others die. Lacey's gone, say goodbye. Get the best, greener field, future dawns, better than conflict and the risk of staying on too long. And cold like wind blows me past the years, leaving me temporarily now in arrears. Time rolls forward, seeping past, children grow and leave the house. Lovers fail at being friends when love is something they trade. Russian time moves onward by, Schmitty's dead and Hank on high. Some fish fade while others die, races leap into the mortal sky. Better than the conflict and the risk of staying over long. Staying over long. Well, the first note an hour ago, even though everybody said, wait, no, she couldn't say, it'd be wrong. She already been there too long. Lords could hear the things they said. She preferred the words in her head. She took a wheel, heading to east in order to feel. She hurtled towards space, picked up the kid, surveyed her mood, doubt on her face. She slowly unglued, doubt on her face, cloud in her view. Chicago Avenue, Theodore lived in a town with Bo and the kid. They drove to a hood where nobody should. Bo did what she said she would. Lawrence was mad, eager to shout. The kid had been bad and had to get out. Reclining in the seat, the kid was a liar, pretended to sleep. The kid had conspired, and justice said please for what the girl did. Alone onward east. Oh, booted the kid. She booted the kid. Alone onward east. Oh, booted the kid. Her existence seems entrapped. Lord can't stay one place long. Now she's on her way to Joplin. That place is a receipt. Call for the kid from Chicago, as previously said. Not like the kid, he hopped in the car. Here's what he did. He drove to a bar, outside of which stood the kid and her stuff. As quick as she could, and just fast enough. She got in the car, they drove away. She had been saved by video that day. Onward alone, drove forward into space, losing her mind, but keeping the face, keeping the face, losing her mind and keeping the face.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, a dozen. You say I'm responsible, I wasn't. You say that I do, I doesn't. You say that I mustn't. She knows well how to kill men, blindside them with running up hills, and then crank knobs to 10. Assault them again with a deafening din. Salt their eyes, make them blind, break the chin. And when you say you're right, but you're totally fussing.
In the face of UConn, you demand russet.
I check my phone, yours doesn't. How would you do your president?
On my butt, break my hands, kick my butt, suck my last, kill my sperm, take my hands on the curb, and the truth, crack my cups, and shake a can't, I go to my glance, let it sleep in my plans. I'm like a lot, orderly bins, a sunder, fine, and condemn, but one of my blunders make me attend to your golden thunder. Forget the tattoo, just remove the skin under.
Jack and my big in motion, like a back to bend my head, and I'm straight on the grace of the wind, make your face disappear, making no link, close the joy, they have been, bigger bits and Jason, bigger bits, left to come forward, I know it can turn them birds, to find them, then come into the burn like the wind. Like a leader of the group, I kept told to she got the thing, and a fish, taking all the loads of the calls, these are risks, Mr. Oaks, does beauty of a man, you girl, what the hell am I to do?
Pull my butt and break my hands, kick my buttons on my lands, get my sperm, take my hamster on the firm, to get the truth, crack my cups, shake a can, take a leaf, keep my glance, let you sleep in my plans. Bring of my orderly bins, a sunder, fine, they condemn, but one of my blunders, make me attend to your golden thunder. Get the tattoo, just remove the skin under. Pull my butt and break my hands, kick my butts on my lands, get my sperm, take my hands on the firm, to get the truth, crack my cups, and shake a can, take a leaf.
Well, his name's Sherlock Brown Johnson. He's a big fan of the great Charles Johnson. Losing in the summertime, he's got a different football band. Then it's Golden Bookies, man. He's South Africa. He's the guy who comes up to her
says his effort with is clearly cashmere. It's wrong. Yeah, it's wrong. RONALD RONCHONCHONSON. Ron, no Ron Johnson is his name. Ben, everywhere he goes, Ronald knows that those he meets hate to see him go. They hate to see him gone. He's the only son of Donald Ron Johnson. Ronald's not a Dave nor Ron, so Donald never treats Ron as a pawn after Ron. Ronald Ron Johnson's Donald Ron Johnson's non son. Who is the man who comes up to me? Asks if I see, and there's nothing to see. Who is the fellow who comes up to me? It's always a feeling, casually wrong. You've stuff to express, it's in you, innate. But until I'm done, please wait. Text your mate Maurice that you'll be late, at least for your plate to overflow with debate police. Better text case your niece said the least so much ease. You've become inglorious with debated wrongness of your cheaply painted corner. Sheesh. But until I'm done, please wait. Text your mate Maurice that you'll be late, at least for your plate to overflow with debate police. Debate police. Debate police. Debate police. But for my question, you wouldn't want to get pinned down. Given that your argument is neither relevant nor sound, your certainty has faded. You've begun making unaided error. Can you make a sound? Based on just a little look, round and round it goes. I wonder if you heard me at all. You're the one who rang me up. Did you really think I wasn't gonna answer the call? Everybody thinks they're immune. Been down before, I have been up at last. I can tell you from experience, it's at best momentary pass. But that reasoning just don't fly. You're guilty of some sort of intellectual treason, and I'm putting you to death. Fuck yeah, get in the box, bitch. Hell's not gonna save you. Ain't no salvage in this one. All the people with their arguments state their claims with such confidence. Yeah, or not they know things as yet to be ascertained. All the people with their arguments state their claims with such confidence. Yeah, or not they know things as yet to be ascertained. All right, let's take a break. Let's take a break from cleaning. Pull a couple bong reps. After this song. Take a break from cleaning after this song.
Charmaline, Marlene, Charmaline, Marlene, Charmaine, Marmalade. We're reckoning regarding for the marmalade mode. Marmalade, the party to regarding the alarming like alarms for the novel. Crazy with the snobbly and just as ready marmalade. And subsequently following the future garble, Charmaline, Marlene, Charmaline, Charmaine, and Marmalade. And I keep on regarding which matter what parts the marmalade. There so much swirling and all four talking currently and Charmaline and Charmaline and also darling Marmalade. So all of it bad and eager to start part of the succession of this argument. Raylene, Charmaine, and Marmalade, we're arguing. Charlene, Marlene, and Charmaine, Raylene, Charmaine, Raylene, Charmaine, Raylene, Charmaine, Marlene, Charmaine, Raylene, Charmaine, and the Marmalade. Charlene, Marlene, and Charmaine, Raylene, Charmaine, and the Marmalade. Charlene, Marlene, and Charmaine, Raylene, Charmaine, and Marmalade. Charlene, Marlene, and Charmaine, Raylene, Charmaine, and the Marmalade. So Marmalade is yourself, sorry, you Marlene, speak yourself, stars all arm in arm. Let Charles know you start from the sun. And wait so that you can sing, turn out how it's like the water changer, and then up high. And now the sun is all that is harmony caught between the awning.
She returned from Michigan. And now let's take a break.
Came back here again.
Okay. So, obviously, the world is on fire with delight. I don't think any sane person would dispute that. On fire with delight, you say? Yes, I do say that. That's what I say, on fire with delight. You don't say. I do say. On fire with delight. That was rather a good burst of cleaning. I do say so myself. Got quite a bit accomplished. Oh, no, not in frame though. Yeah, I'm not quite done. I'm actually, the key element here is to get this so that the aquarium can be put, I can put water in the aquarium because I want it to be over there. I decided. Not long and hard about it. It's going to be an SIFI thing. You're right, Ravenous Roush. I do have too many pairs of pants. I should get rid of them. I need about 4 pairs of pants is all. Like maybe 4 jeans at the most. 3 jeans. Forget 4 jeans. 3 jeans, 3 shorts, 10, 12 shirts. That's really all you need. I used to not participate much, though, and take a break periodically. Taking a break from this glorious wonder? It's like taking a break from breathing. Are you sure that's a good idea, Ron Solo? Freshwater. I mean, I'd like to think I have concern for the moral state of the bigger picture. That's the thing is FI types sometimes don't get, I don't think Ron Solo is one, but if you were, FI types don't get system integrity. It's like there's just not any sense to the fact that we need to maintain the integrity of the system, even though and when it produces undesirable outcomes, or else we're going to make it worse. It's like it's part of a correctly run system. It's a feature of a good system that it's going to periodically allow individuals to take advantage of the fairness of the system to school the fuck out of somebody else. You know, like, for example, in basketball, sometimes one team is going to win 90-20. That doesn't mean we need to change the rules of the game or adjust the thing so that doesn't happen anymore. It means it's an outlier point on the data display, you know? Real concern for the moral big picture is concern for system integrity. Because look, there's always a million reasons why we should violate system integrity in the moment. And every time it happens, you know, somebody thinks, well, this is the important thing that makes it okay. It's not. It's just another thing. But I don't display it. I don't display moral state of the big picture or concern for the moral state of the big picture. I mean, I do display it. I'm talking all the time about what the correct approach to government is. And no, Ron Solo, listen, there's an appropriate venue for FI, and it's not public policy. I do discredit FI considerations in public policy because for the same reason I try to not factor in too much TI and TE considerations in personal relationships because it's not the appropriate venue for it. It's like, look, the FI people will always be voting for doing something about a problem, not understanding that a lot of times doing something is bad. It makes the problem worse. There's no understanding of inherency. There's no understanding of solvency. There's just understanding intention. If we're intending to do the right thing, we're spending money on it, then it's a good thing. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, it is. It just doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. The problem with FI is applying this subjective calculus to something that's fundamentally an objective concern, namely public policy. And it's like, it's not that I'm discrediting FI or don't consider it valid or delegitimize it. It's that it's not the appropriate forum for it. Remember, it is a deliberative function. Here's the thing. What are you not doing? You're not doing an equivalent conceding of domain to TI. Who's really being FI blind right now? It's you. I'm acknowledging the primacy of your perspective and FI perspectives in general in appropriate circumstances, and pointing out that an objective deliberative calculus is appropriate for the group considerations, you know, for government. And it's not appropriate to have subjective considerations in that context. Because, unfortunately, what's important to you for subjective reasons is not the same as what's important to other people for subjective reasons. There's no way to prioritize anyone's subjectivity without dismissing the subjectivity of everybody else. That's what you're not understanding, is I'm respecting subjectivity. No, not appropriate to me. Appropriate according to reality. Okay? So you're claiming, Ron Solo, that TI has no legitimate domain, that FI is legitimate for all domains. Now, who's being inconsiderate of the legitimacy of other modalities, me or you? You know? That's fair. It's reasonable. It's FI considerate as well. It's putting myself in somebody else's shoes. So it's like, I recognize the fact that when I'm dismissing FI concerns on public policy, that it's probably people are going to internalize that and think that I'm dismissing their modality. I don't want you to think that. If you're an FI user, I'm not dismissing your modality. I am saying that no matter how powerful your subjective valuings of a given position statement, it's not sufficient to carry the day on that advocacy, because we're talking about public policy and we're not talking about things that are just important to you. Well, listen, Ron, I'm not saying I'm an expert at considering FI. It's true that I don't default to putting myself in other people's shoes, and that is my blind spot. I mean, but I'm vastly more aware and nuanced in my dealing with my blind spot than most people who aren't even aware they have that blind spot, right? So at the very least, I'm engaging you honestly about the topic, acknowledging that it's not my strong suit, obviously, but pointing out that if I'm going into a field where it's the best polar you can have, because you have to remove as much subjectivity as possible from public policy. That's all. It's just how it is, Ron. It's not like my opinion, your opinion. It's just how it is. Right. Well, and see, that's the thing. Is I love to have examples. People like to make sort of abstract critiques and stuff. It really helps to provide an example. So it's like, if you see me not giving FID consideration on a given position or a given issue or in a given instance, point it out so that I can see exactly what it is you mean when you say what you say. Because I don't, but you need a specific example. I mean, like when you say I'm dismissing FI, for example, you would say, I pointed out that these people were suffering a great deal and you said their suffering doesn't matter. That would be an example of me dismissing FI. Can you give me an example like that? If you've disagreed with me about political stuff in the past, Ron Solo, it's simply because you've got a lot of attachment to your advocacies and your position statements and claims and stuff like that. And I genuinely don't. I am attached to being correct. So, I don't know what to tell you. It's more nuanced than what? So, okay, so you mean my example. So what would an example be? Is it just your interpretation or how you feel about it? Or is there actually something we can all look at objectively and say, no, he's right, Eric, that is dismissive, blah, blah, blah. Can you give us one of those? Because I'm willing to accept what you're saying is true. I'm absolutely willing to accept that it's true. But you've got to actually establish it. You can't just throw out random claims without any substantiation, and expect other people to take them seriously. That's FI. That's FI. It's like, yes, it's serious to you. Great, wonderful. But if you expect other people to take you seriously, you have to substantiate with something other than FI. Because nobody's disputing that its importance to you is important to you. So, anyway, see, here's a problem, Ron Solo. I don't know what you are bringing to my attention. You have not given me any examples of it. You are not bringing anything to my attention if you're referencing something like this. Hey, there's a problem over there. And I go, okay, what's the problem? You go, oh, it's a big problem. I go, okay, what's the problem? It's with you. It's a problem with you. Okay, what's the problem? Can you give me an example? If you can't, then you're just, at this point, you're just being adversarial for the sake of it. You're not actually interested in resolving anything that's in dispute. And that's one of the problems with FI is it's fundamentally disinterested in resolving things in dispute. It wants to win. I mean, I try to be aware of it. The thing is, at least I give it due consideration abstractly. Obviously, everybody's going to be kind of retarded and they're polar. And I am no exception to that. But you're talking about being a problem politically for me. And if you're saying it's a problem because FI people will feel as though they're not being taken seriously, well, that might be an issue if, in fact, I weren't taking their considerations seriously. The thing is, I am taking everyone's considerations seriously. Some people are wrong, nevertheless. I mean, my FI really gets in effect when I'm dealing with a lover. That's when I really start getting FI. Like, you know, my insistence that Rachel be instantly all in the relationship forever is not a logical calculus. That's an FI thing, right? It's like, I want what I want. Doesn't matter if it's reasonable. And I'm going to argue in favor of it. That's where my FI really comes out. Thanks, Vincent's mom. I appreciate that critique, that status. He is not intellectually lazy. That's true. I am not intellectually lazy. And I'm not intellectually dishonest either. People may accuse me of that a lot of times. I'm not necessarily intellectually forthcoming in the way that I am about other things. So it's like, in that regard, well, I mean, we should all be very, very glad that FI polar informs my public policy because, again, FI is the subjective deliberative calculus. It's got no business in public policy. Nevertheless, I am representing people who use that calculus for understanding things. So I have to make sure they understand that I, too, feel strongly and want the best for people and hate suffering and want equality and equity and stuff like that. And that the reason I'm opposing their policy statement is because it's counterproductive. They don't understand that you need to have actual solvency in a given policy advocacy if you want to solve a problem. That the problem of solving like poverty or something does not involve more tax and spend. It doesn't. And it's not because I don't care about the poor. It's because you aren't intellectually rigorous enough to actually advocate in favor of them. I'm not being defensive. I'm explaining reality. And this is the thing, I will always do that. People might often accuse me of being defensive. If somebody comes at me with some wrongness, I will explain to them why they are wrong. That is not me being defensive. That is me being a decent human being and instructing people as to what the reality is. People don't like the fact that I talk as though I'm the gauge of all knowing, that I have all the answers and they don't. Except I keep stressing, be right then. I will accept your rightness. The thing is, here's the deal. You got to remember that, and people forget this, or don't care, or don't understand what it means. I am a professional debate coach. That does not just mean I debate well or something. It means I understand how argumentation actually works. And the vast, vast, vast majority of people do not understand this at all. And so they're trying to argue with me. People come and try to argue with me under the presumption that I am operating basically like a regular person in that regard, but I'm not. And so it's like they have no idea what they're doing, and I understand completely what they're doing and what I'm doing. And so it's like it's hard for me not to come across as pedantic. Like, what's the problem with what Ron is saying right here? He's not talking about anything. He's not established anything. He's saying, I'm too FI polar, that's negative in some regard, but he hasn't warranted it or impacted it, because every argument has three components: a claim, a warrant, and an impact. He's made the claim that somehow I'm FI polar, and that my FI polar is somehow a liability politically or whatever. I asked him to be met on a practical level, like people are going to be less likely to feel like I feel for him. He didn't respond to that, and he's given me no more specificity about what he means. So, in other words, I can sit here and try to argue with him all day, but the fact is, the answer is very simple. I've heard a claim, but no warrant or impact. So there's nothing for me to argue against. You haven't met your burden to affirm. I'm aware of this stuff. Nobody else is aware of it. It's frustrating. I get a little exacerbated because I understand fundamentally that all the arguments on every side of it are just that, arguments on sides of it. But everybody else is attached to their arguments. It's frustrating. If you're a competitive debater, you learn to argue both sides of everything. How many people here come here and argue with me have argued just as passionately for the opposite side? None of them, except for me. That's when you learn who's right. When you argue both sides as hard as you can, you learn who's right. I'm not getting frustrated. Again, people want to attribute emotions to me for some reason, as though it were relevant. I am speaking the truth. My tone is irrelevant, although it might convey some degree of haughty annoyance or something. That is what I'm feeling, haughty annoyance, and it ought to be conveyed. At least that's what I'm feeling like conveying, haughty annoyance. So whether I'm actually feeling that or not is, who the fuck knows? It's your feelings. Who knows what they're for? Who knows what to do with them? Who knows what you're feeling in any given moment? Am I actually feeling that? I don't know. I'm feeling kind of like a rascal a little bit, maybe. I don't know. FI people are not non-logical. They're autological, which is to say they have the logic of the self, subjective reasoning. And it's a logic of things that they value and the competition between those things that they value when you have to prioritize one over the other. Like anything else, it's a calculation of prioritization. The difference between FI and a normal logic, quote unquote, is that there's no exclusivity in FI. So one can both love and hate somebody concurrently. And managing the economy of concurrent, sometimes conflicting, sometimes collaborative or complementary emotions and stuff, that's logic, FI logic, you know? I don't mean to insult FI or that manner of logic, but if you're using that deliberative function to prevent you from hearing the truth of my words when I'm talking about matters that are objective, namely like public policy, then that's an area of growth for you. That's it. I've got my own areas of growth. They don't happen to be in that area because my nature, my extroversion and all that kind of crap. My areas of growth require, learning the self better in ways that are not connected to the external world. That's where I have to grow. I have to grow in terms of my SI, in terms of my FI. I have to grow in terms of my NI. I certainly have to grow in terms of my TE. I got to grow physically as a being, most of all, because I'm mostly a metaphysical type. For an FI user, FI Dom, or something, FI tool especially, their area of growth is to recognize the primacy of the universal within its own frame, not across frames. This is the problem. I'm not trying to impose TI frame upon FI ground. FI is trying to impose FI frame upon TI ground, and that's the problem. What kind of lessons are you given? Oh, yeah. Yeah, listen, Sean Ryan Barron, I get it. I understand that feeling. I've had parents, like, even my current parents who are great, the dad really didn't. He really was saying, no, we need to change this angle of attack here on the F. And it was true. I mean, look, Ron, if we have face-to-face talk, I'll try to explain it better. Too much effort this way. The bottom line, Ron, is that you are offering a critique of me. You're saying there's an area of improvement in which I need to be improved. I am willing, certainly able and willing to hear this critique and improve in that area if you are correct. If you can't articulate it in a few sentences, then you're not correct. Sorry. The thing about it is, the parent was like, okay, the judges don't understand this. I don't understand it either. I said, okay, well, it's not because it's a problem. It's because I failed to explain it well enough. And that was the case. When I finally explained it as, look, we need to run this purely as an opinion of jurist kind of a thing. That how would, because, and I want to make a video specifically about argumentation and this nuclear weapons topic, because it explains a lot about argumentation in general and how we use words and how we can use words well in argumentation and poorly in argumentation. Again, within the frame. My response, the thing is, Ron, look, here I am this morning, I'm cleaning, I take a break, and I get into a little argument with you about FITI stuff. You need to remember when you say that I respond strongly that I'm an expressive person. I'm accustomed to adversarial rhetoric, and I'm accustomed to being expressive of varying degrees of either contempt, disdain, or whatever, because it's a perceptual dominance thing in a competition round. That's an area where perhaps my FI polar is causing me to more slowly than I ought transition into a better kind of FE. That's a plausible critique. I'd go with that. I would like to excise from my discourse, to the extent that I can, those kind of haughty and exclusive arguing tones. Note, though, that I'm talking about the tones, not the words. The words are the same either way. No matter what my emotion or tone is, I'm not being driven by that emotionality to be wrong. I'm just driven by that emotionality to not care about how the other comes across in this discussion. In other words, to successfully be president, I'm going to need to not just be right, but I need to be inclusively right. And I need to figure out how to do that better. To the extent that you mean that, Ron Solo, you are absolutely correct. And I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Every non-NT thinks NTs are mad when they show any emotionality. I think, like I said, I'm very practiced in being expressive. I can be screaming at the top of my lungs, and the words I say don't change. The thing is, it doesn't matter if you're emotional, if the emotionality doesn't impact your behavior. Now, it does impact my tone, and tone is important. Despite the fact that I'm constantly saying, don't listen to my tone, tone doesn't matter. I mean, if that's what you were saying, then yeah. No, tone does matter. Tone does matter. It's behavior. It's a component of behavior. And when I say like, my tone doesn't matter, it's my words that matter. What I'm basically saying is only use TI, exclude all other modalities. And that's just ridiculous. that's just me being function biased and childishly so. I'm human. I make that mistake sometimes. I get like, you know what? Fuck all y'all. Pay attention to my words. It's the only thing we can all agree on mean things. Which is true, but that's just my function bias coming into play. The thing is, it's nice being with an INFJ. Makes me more attentive to tone in general. And I mean, I think that the best way that I can be inclusive is to tell this story as much as possible, or equivalent stories. Here's what I'm struggling with, as a candidate. I'm quite convinced I'm quote unquote right about everything. What does that mean? Well, it means that I've taken a very detached calculus in evaluating anything, that I'm a debate coach, that I've argued all these things out before, and so I know which arguments are strongest and which ones win. And then basically, since we're dealing with an objective external system here, namely politics, and everybody's got to feel like it's fair, then we need to use that objective disinterested calculus in making decisions. However, I also know that if I hammer the wrongness of others because I can win the argument, then I'm not going to end up making a lot of allies. I'm going to end up making a lot of reluctant supporters or enemies. And I can do better than that. So, people do need to feel like politics is fair. You got to remember the difference between, say, the United States and North Korea. We are unhappy here about a lot of things. Each individual citizen is unhappy about a variety of different things. It doesn't change the fact that the distance between our society and our lives and our day-to-day experience and that of the North Korean is chasms of depth, the distance, So it's both important that we acknowledge that our system's not perfect, and it's also important that we acknowledge that it's a hell of a lot better than a lot of alternatives. So it is important that we all believe, to the extent that we can, manage to experience a reality that's believable in. I would like the people of America to once again believe in their leaders as a group, as a general group. to not be divided into those who are ardent supporters who support despite, and ardent opposers who oppose no matter. I'd like us to all want our leadership to succeed. And even when they're of the opposite political stripes, we should all want the best public policy to be passed and implemented. And sometimes our political opponents may be the ones who implement a good policy. If we're going to simply experience the citizen democracy as hating the political opponents and demonizing them and deciding what the correct policy is based on which team somebody's on, then we've got to put an end to that divisive quality in politics. I hope to be the person who puts an end to that divisive quality in politics, because I am right about the case level stuff, which specific policies ought to be what, but I'm also right about the framework stuff, that this discursive change, this change in understanding how we as Americans interact with one another politically, and how we can potentially work together to have sane and adult leadership that represents everybody's interests and is not, we need to elect a president that doesn't begin by appealing to the base. Mrs. Mom, you're getting right down to work, I see. So here's the other thing. There are a lot of people in the country who don't feel like leadership is a good thing at all. For example, Alpha Quadrant. Alpha Quadrant people, they don't like the idea of leadership. We don't like the idea of hierarchy. Somebody wants to claim they're my leader, I tend to raise both middle fingers and say, "You don't lead me, motherfucker." But I've also matured somewhat, and I recognize that there is, in fact, a need for genuine leadership. That's exactly what's lacking right now. What is missing in American politics? Genuine leadership. I saw an article title, just the title of an article. Something along the lines of, "We don't need another great president. Great presidents are the problem here." In other words, presidents with too much ambition on it. No, we need an actually great president who's actually a great leader and who feels the significance of what he's doing, who has the appropriate amount of discretion regarding pulling the trigger on shit. I'm not a trigger puller by nature. I am a deliberator. My action is verbal, and even then, there's a big delay between when I thought something out and when I talk about it, depending on the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like if I'm just responding to questions and stuff, obviously I'm kind of going off the fly. But there's things that I've got maybe in the works in my head that I don't bust out as involved in any answers because it's not ready yet. So I'm cautious. I'm prudent. I want to do what's best for the country, and I don't want to be decided. I don't want that to be decided by ideology. I want it to be decided by an actual calculus on an issue-by-issue basis. The ideology I bring to the table is an ideology of actual unity, of actual adults disputing things with one another in civil fashion. And, we need to get, for example, a perfect start is the gun issue. It seems absolutely unbridgeable. You've got gun rights people who are in favor of all gun rights no matter what.
You've got gun control people who are in favor of getting rid of guns, no matter what. They both demonize the other side. And there's definitely common ground here. There are very few people, if any, who genuinely support the notion that the right to possess a firearm is an unlimited right. Few people out there think that I should be able to own a fighter jet with Sidewinder missiles on it or something. So we're all in agreement that there are some limits to the firepower to which the state ought permit an individual to possess. Whether they're permitting it or whether it's the person's right that's being violated when they don't permit it, whatever angle you want to look at it, the vast majority of people, including people who are in favor of gun rights, agree that it's not an unlimited right. Now, we should all agree that in the United States of America, it is an individual right to possess a gun, at least some firearm. It explicitly states so in the Constitution. The Supreme Court has ruled thusly. So it also should be noted there are over 300 million guns in the country already. They're not going anywhere. The government's not going to go around and collect everybody's guns. And it's just not the kind of country we are. We're a country that allows, quote unquote, allows or doesn't prevent its population from arming itself. Now, at the same time, for the people who are in favor of gun rights, I am in favor of gun rights, and yet I'm also in favor of some additional gun control legislation. Why? It's important to a vast majority of the country that some sort of federal action be taken regarding these mass shootings. The reality probably is this federal legislation will have no impact on it whatsoever. But if it makes that portion of the population feel better, and if it is not subject to abuse and extension and other things that, federal agents sometimes do with laws that are intended to be limited but get expanded in scope by prosecutors and law enforcement officials, well, then I won't sign it. But I would like to see us make some sort of gesture as a gun rights respecting nation to the half of the population who thinks it's abhorrent that anybody has a gun. That half of the population, I would like to ask of you to recognize that many of our friends, neighbors, sisters, brothers possess firearms, and that 99.9999999% of firearm owners never engage in criminal activity with their firearm. So try to be civil about it. Let's all try to be civil about it. We can make some compromises here. It's not a slippery slope. I sure as hell am not going to sign bills to get rid of everybody's gun rights and stuff like that. I will sign reasonable bills that limit, magazine capacity, caliber, or something like that. That it seems like it might actually have a positive impact on at least reducing the carnage of the next mass shooting. And that's an adult talking about the subject. Anybody want to join me? You know what I'm saying? That's my platform. Hey, look, I'm an adult talking about these things. Anybody want to join me? No, not at anyone specifically. I'm pointing out that, look, the party system. Look what the party system has done to us. I've got the alternative here. I'm an adult talking about the subject. Notice how I am not furiously arguing either side of it. Notice how I'm not dismissing either side as evil or inherently wrong or fucked up or whatever. That I'm actually giving credence to both positions and proposing a real compromise. Most importantly, what I'm doing is saying, here's what an adult conversation looks like. And
I know that the party system, the parties have gotten us talking to each other like enemies. But I propose we talk like citizens to each other who sometimes agree and sometimes disagree about what's best for the country. You know I'm going to make a disinterested calculus. You may not agree with me, but you'll know that I've earnestly heard your side, and I want to make sure that your perspective is included in a way that makes you feel represented by your representative democracy. I know I don't feel represented by my representative democracy in the status quo. Do you? This is my pitch. It's part of it. I'm working it out right now, you know? I'm working it out around here in front of 12 people. Ron Solo helped today, you know? Ron Solo helped a lot by you know, it's like he didn't make the correct critique, but he pointed in that general direction. So I was able to do the rest of the work, you know? That's good. Because I don't want to be it's a tricky line to walk. I want to be open, you know, accepting, inclusive, and yet I at the same time don't want to tolerate. I mean, I'm not going to indicate to anybody that yes, I agree with policy X when I don't, you know? And if they insist on policy X, and I'm quite certain that they're wrong, I'm likely to tell them that they're wrong. Because they need to hear that too. That you're wrong, and there are correct and incorrect positions on politics. It's not political correctness. No, not like that. It's a case-by-case basis on every single political issue. There are sets of arguments on both sides. And for every single issue, some of those arguments are a lot stronger and truer than the other side. And those are the ones we go with. We try to apply a fairly consistent framework across calculi because that limits arbitrariness. You know? Oh yeah, it's over. Conflict with Iran is over. Trump totally won this thing he just pulled off. He just pulled off something that was a big win for him, and it's ridiculous because fuck that guy. Anyway, yeah, let's get away from politics. I try to stay away from it pending my run for presidency simply because it's depressing. It's depressing, and there's nothing I can do about it in the status quo. So, you know. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do now is finish moving this black thing over, turn that thing, or maybe I can turn the thing already. Maybe I don't need to move the black thing further over. Let's find out. Here, I'm going to let you guys look at this beautiful candle. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Oh, beautiful candle. Your beauty is so true. My beautiful, beautiful candle. Beautiful candle, I love you. My poem. The poem that I wrote for school. Oh, beautiful candle, I call it. Beautiful, beautiful candle. Candle, candle, burning bright. Your beautiful candle, this is so nice. I love candles. This one smells like bamboo. Ah. Yes, namaste, namaste. Today, we develop our spiritual chrysalis. Start chewing your spiritual silk leaves. Mulberry leaves.
I'm chewing my spiritual mulberry leaves.
Okay, I want everyone to breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Okay, I want everyone to just center yourself, close your eyes. I'd like you now to please locate your fourth chakra. It's going to be your poop chakra. Locate your poop chakra. It's in your butt. Now release your poop chakra. Release it. Let it go. All right. Now, everybody go clean yourselves up.
Chakra number 6. Chakra number 6 is my favorite chakra.
That weed I got last time called Forbidden Jutsu. That's the kind of weed I can get behind.
Boo failure, boo failure.
There we go.
Belt is this? I need a belt. Might as well just put it on.
Now we're cooking with gas.
Oh yeah. That's juicy.
My dad's got all the sports schedules for USC from 2001 through 2010 taped to the side of that file cabinet over there. Okay, wow. How about this? That works. Good. Damn it. Where's that there? That was wider, right? What does it say there? Okay. You want to be a pain in the ass? Fine. Be a pain in the ass. All right, fine. So, I'm going to move that over a little bit. So, for those of you who are interested in learning the truth, the real truth about what I'm doing, I'm going to put this over here. Okay. Now, Or I could use a long one. I could use a long one instead. Maybe I should use a long one instead. No, Eric, don't be retarded. That should be fine. Is this one wider? That one downstairs wider. God damn it. It's really frustrating because you guys can't even see what's going on up there, huh? So I'm trying to get that on top of that. It doesn't fit. I mean, it's not wide enough. This is 15 inches. This is also 15 inches. That's not any wider. Huh. Not quite sure what to do about this now. It's fucking annoying. Okay, well, I may have to use this table here. For the things that's over there, for the TV there. I mean, is this table sturdy enough to support aquarium? Probably. Tough question. Let me pull this bowl. I'm 6'4". There was one point in my life when I was 6'5", but I've gotten a little shorter. This is wide enough. I could use this table. I really kind of like this table for its current purpose, but it seems sturdy. I think this is what I'm going to have to do here. Let's see. Yeah, this should be strong enough, I think. For the aquarium. Put these things up here.